so I don't forget. Okay. I hope they're not coming. There's not a time spot, so they should just show up. Yeah, there's still a minute, so we'll. Oh, there's Shao. Great. We're just waiting on Jing so that we can start when everyone's here. All right, while we're waiting for Jing, I went ahead and messaged her in case she's going to be a couple minutes late. So I'll wait to see if she's going to pop in. Or maybe she was planning coming a little later since she's last. All right, let's go ahead and get started because it's already 12:01 and I want to be respectful of your time. So first off, thank you both for being willing to do this early and getting your presentations up and running. And you've done a phenomenal job of, doing all the work, taking our feedback, incorporating it. I noticed when you both were with me on Saturday and Sunday doing the dress rehearsal, there was already a dramatic improvement. Whether you feel like you've improved or not, right? That may take some time. So the one thing I will say going in is you may feel nervous, and that's natural. So instead, do the presentation, and then once I post the recording, go back and watch yourself, because you'll notice, oh my gosh, yes, I did change, or oh, I did this thing really well, right? And find a couple gems to give yourself a pat on the back, because going forward, you're going to be your own coach, right? Karen and I won't be present. Jeffrey won't be there to kind of tell you what to do, tell you, give you feedback or give you a pat on the back. So you've got to become your own best coach. And I already shared the format with all of you. I mentioned that we each will take turns giving you feedback. Jeff's going to focus more on the things that he covered in accent reduction. And then Karen and I will focus on the areas that you want us to focus on. So before you launch into your talk, just take a minute, let us know what we should keep an eye out for, and that's all we'll give you feedback on. If you want the whole thing, then we're happy to do that. But you let us know, because this helps you as you go forward with your mini audience. Jeff and Karen, anything you want to add?
Not me. I think that was a good intro. And well, I'll just add too that, and I'll say this in the other classes we have this week for the final presentations, but I hope you both stay in touch as we move forward to the class. Purnima and I love hearing from students, and definitely stay in touch as well. So I just wanted to add that before we got into the presentations. But I think we should just get started unless Jeff has something else. Oh.
Jeff, looks like you're muted.
No, I was just going to say, just take your time. You know, speak to the end of one thought group, take a little micro breath, and speak to the end of the next. I think that's what's most important.
Yep. Now, I will be keeping time, and since it's an intimate group, I'm not going to, cut you off if you run over. If you certainly run over, 6-7 minutes, then I might be like, time to end. But I'll keep time. That way I can just give you some feedback around your timing, if that's what you want. So with that, the first person up is Xiao. So Xiao, feel free to share your screen. Let us know what you would like for us to cover in terms of feedback.
Okay, I guess I would really love the whole package. I really appreciate like all the comments from you guys. So I would definitely love to know, like all the aspects that I does well or do not do well. The other thing is that this room is a little bit awkward. My computer is super low right now, so please let me know that you couldn't see like my whole body or my head or something like that.
Yeah, can you just tilt your computer? Are you on a laptop?
So right now I'm sitting down, but when I'm presenting, I'll be like standing up. So yeah, I wouldn't be able to know, like how well I'm portrayed in the video. So I'm gonna share my screen. Okay, can you guys see my screen?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, and this will be me standing up. That's good?
I think that's, yeah.
Okay, looks good. Okay, so I will be starting. The title of my talk is Jumpstart Your NLP Project with Word Embeddings. And my intended audience are junior data scientists who would love to learn about NLP and apply NLP to their own projects. I was first exposed to the power of natural language processing through a conversation with my bank. Nowadays, when you call your bank or some other services, you do not get connected to a human directly. Instead, you are usually given a list of options to choose from. But for this one time, I decided to do something different. So I directly said into the phone, "Can I talk to a representative, please?" And almost magically, I did get connected to a representative. And I was thinking to myself, oh wow, this machine on the other side, it really understands what I was talking about. So this is an example of my bank using natural language processing, or NLP for short, to enhance customer experience. NLP can also be used in a variety of different other ways. But you may be wondering what's happening under the hood. How do we teach the machines to understand human language? As a data scientist myself, I recently finished my first NLP project. And I would like to share with you a few things that I've learned to hopefully help you jumpstart your own NLP project. For this talk, I'll be focusing on one very important concept, which is the word embeddings. And I'll explain what word embeddings are in a minute. I will also be covering one model for word embeddings, which is called the TF-IDF. So what are word embeddings? This is usually the first step in any NLP project. It helps to transform human language from words and phrases into a format that can be readily understood by the machines. So this usually involves converting human language into numbers. For example, in this particular word embedding model I'm showing on the screen, you can see that every single word is projected onto this 3D service. 3D space. So each word will have 3 numbers associated with it, which are the X, Y, and Z coordinates. The machine will then be able to understand what the words mean by looking at how close they are or how far away they are. So going back to my conversation with my bank, I asked to talk to a representative. If I ask instead, "Can I talk to an agent, please?" the machine will probably still be able to understand it's really the same question, because the word representative and agents are really close together. But instead, if I ask about, can you talk to me about the mortgage rate? The machine will know that that's a different question with different contexts, because the word mortgage is far away from the cluster representative and agents. There are a variety of word embedding models out there, and I would definitely encourage you to try them out and see how they work for your own problem. But for this talk, I want to focus on one specific model, which is called Term Frequency Inverse Document Frequency, or TF-IDF for short. The reason that I want to know about this model is because it's probably one of the most widely used models out there. It's super powerful, and it's quite intuitive to understand. So how does TF-IDF work? Imagine that you have a large collection of documents. These can be word chapters or conversations with different customers, and so on. TF-IDF would assign a single score to each unique word in this big blob of text. A word will get a high score based on two criteria. First, it has to have high frequency within a single document. And second, it has to have low frequency pretty much anywhere else. So going back to my question to my bank, I suspect that I got transferred because the machine picked up on the keyword representative. But how does it know that that's really the keyword? Why not can, or I, or please? This is because we can easily imagine that these other words, they are probably very common. They appear in pretty much every single conversation between the customer and the bank. So TF-IDF would assign a low score to those. But instead, representative is highly informative words. It probably only appears in those questions where the customer wants to talk to an agent. So TF-IDF would assign a high score to the word representative, and the machine will then be able to learn that representative is really the keyword that defines this question. So just to quickly recap, we have covered the concept of word embeddings and one particular word embedding model, which is TF-IDF. Natural language processing is a blooming field, and there are a variety of other methods out there with exciting new applications. If you want to talk about other word embedding models or natural language processing in general, please feel free to come talk to me after my talk, or feel free to connect with me on social media. Thank you.
All right. Good job.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Awesome. Oh my gosh. Awesome.
Yeah, great stuff. Yeah, great for breaking the ice.
Yeah. Jeff, do you want to go first and give some feedback?
Sure. I mean, I think, your English is really excellent overall, Zhao. I mean, your consonants are really crisp. Almost all of your vowel sounds, the short vowel sounds, the long vowel sounds are all, there and well pronounced. I'd say you are a little bit up tempo, and I think that can happen when you're feeling a little anxious, right? Especially when you give a presentation. Did you feel that
Yes.
you were going a little quickly? Yeah.
Yes, I was definitely nervous.
Yeah, and that's usually what happens is, we start to feel the adrenaline, and we don't want to get rid of that. Adrenaline is good, but the question is how do we control it so that we can really make the speech as sharp as we can. Mm-hmm. So, and the best way to do that is to think of the punctuation as like little stop signs, where you can just take a small breath of air, and it doesn't have to be a lot, but just a small quick sip of air, and take a slight pause and then continue on. But challenge yourself just at the beginning of the presentation or any speech, mm-hmm. to really go as slow as you like. It's rare that people have a problem with going too slow. It does happen sometimes, but it's rare. So, I think if you give yourself that challenge, then there'll be those rare instances where you stumbled over words or sounds, you might be able to weed a few more of those out.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only small things I heard occasionally, like you will de-emphasize, you could afford to de-emphasize some of the smaller words a little bit more, like structure mm-hmm. words, but that's really picking, I think. Occasionally you'll hit slightly the wrong stress on words like unique or
Unique.
or recap. You hit you want to hit the first syllable. But again, I'm really looking for areas to pick at here. So overall, the speech is excellent. Just take your time a little bit more.
Okay, thank you so much.
Sure.
Karen, go ahead.
Yeah, so super impressive show. I mean, I'm just like thinking about your initial recordings, and you've come so far. You should feel great. Hopefully you do. Do you feel good?
I do. Now that it's
Good.
over, I do feel very, very good.
So here's what I saw that I loved. I mean, you were confident and comfortable with those gestures to mirror and signpost. I saw a lot of signposting. I also saw you doing signposting and mirroring at the same time, which it's hard to do both of those. So you have mastered that, and I would just keep encouraging you to keep looking for opportunities in one-on-one conversations and small meetings even to practice those gestures even more, so that when you do get on stage to give a bigger talk, they just flow naturally. So keep doing what you're doing there. Really good. Also, you had some great transitions, which maybe you had before too, but I remember in your talk you said, now for this talk, I'm going to focus on, TF-IDF. Super great transition to just bring the audience along with you, and super easy to follow you as a result. The other thing you did that helped the audience is you spoke very well to your slides, or maybe your slides complemented what you were saying very well. I know you took the feedback we've given you in the past in making sure it's all a tight story, but your slides were spot on, and the way you spoke to the data on your slides was perfect. That said, there are two pieces of constructive feedback I have for you. One is when you did have that initial slide with the 4 pictures, 4 examples of how NLP is used, I would, even though we've told you, like, you don't have to go into too much detail about all these other use cases, but when you have that slide, you rush through it. You should have just said it can be used for translation, for, just 1 or 2 words for each of the boxes. I don't think you did that, right? You just
I didn't.
said, yeah. So just like bring the audience along, fill in the blanks for the audience, so to speak, but just 1 or 2 words per box, not detail. And then there were a few times where you misspoke. You used the wrong word and you said, I'm sorry, and you corrected yourself, something like that. And you handled that very well. It was fine. That said, I want you to start thinking about times like, do I really need to correct myself? I didn't use the word I wanted to use, but was it okay? And the example I want to give you is you said 3D surface and then said, oh, I meant to say 3D space. Now for me, it didn't matter. 3D surface was absolutely fine. So just, it's hard to correct yourself in the moments like that, but that's that next level of professionalism. I think that you can get to that point of realizing, I just misspoke. It wasn't the phrase I wanted to say, but it's good enough. You think all of that and you just keep going. So that's my feedback, but really great job. So happy for you.
Thank you so much, Karen.
Yeah. So I won't dive into some of the areas that Karen covered because my feedback is similar. But Xiao, I think you are ready to take this and apply to a Grace Hopper or any other technical conference. I think the material is certainly something I've learned from you. And I think whether they're female or whomever they are, would benefit because you do have this great area of expertise. The one thing I will say is, again, we didn't grade you on hitting that 5-minute mark, but going forward, just keep that in mind that other conferences will be a little tighter on the time. And so to that end, I would encourage you going forward to think about what are some things you need to cut out. Again, what are some areas like Karen mentioned, no need to repeat areas that you misspoke. I think this time around, as opposed to when you did the practice session with me on Saturday, I felt like the explanation of TF-IDF was getting a little repetitive or maybe a little bit deeper. So I would say for both of these, for both word embeddings and for TF-IDF going forward, have a crisp explanation. Maybe practice it in hallway conversation, because that's where I noticed you started to spend a lot more time. And that's, in this case, it's okay because it's meant to be your sandbox. but going forward, someone's going to ask you, or you're going to have a tighter time frame for your presentation. So keep that in mind. Then,
yeah. How long was Show's talk this time?
Yeah, so Show's talk was a little over 5:45.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah. So again, it's okay. I said as long as you get to 5:30, we'll give you a grace period, but I want you to be aware going forward. So it wasn't something where I was like, oh my gosh, I told you I would give you the coat hanger if it went over 6.
Mm-hmm.
So we're fine. But knowing kind of Jeffrey's feedback around pausing, taking your time, knowing that that's something you need to work on, it's getting aggressive with cutting things out, practicing that concise and being brief. One of the things I really liked in this talk is going back to your initial story. So you did a really good job of circling back. You did it once. I would have loved to have seen you do it one more time at the end, just to make it even punchier. So keep that in mind. And that may mean cutting out certain other slides or certain other areas of content. So that's all I've got. The rest, I think, echoes what Jeff and Karen said. Karen, Jing, do either of you have anything you'd like to add?
I think that was a great talk, and I feel a lot of pressure now.
It's not a competition. Yeah. I know you have 3 judges. It's not American Idol, so don't worry. We're not gonna boo you off the stage. Yeah. Right.
I think it's really great. The concept explained very clear, and then I certainly learned a lot from it. So
thank you.
I'm really looking forward if you have a longer talk.
Thanks. I'll let you know.
Yeah, and you are all at Intuit, so you can kind of get a little group going and explore this and get some more feedback going forward. All right, awesome.
All right, thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you, Xiao. So next up is Ms. Karen. So whenever you're ready, show us your screen.
Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Actually, I want to do this way.
And let us know what your areas of feedback are that you'd
okay.
like us to focus.
Yeah, I think I would like the general feedback as well, but I probably want to know what's the most important thing can improve the talk? Like, what should I focus on first? Okay, so I can get started. So the topic of this talk is uncover the secrets of user behavior with A/B testing. My target audience are developers who are new to A/B testing. So have you ever seen a great product that makes their user happy, but it's not selling to a new customers? Last May, we released a feature in QuickBooks Accountant that helped accountants to manage their work for their clients. We got great feedbacks. The Net Promoter Score is 10 points higher for the accountants who are using this feature. However, there are only 5% of QuickBooks accountants that are using this feature. So we want to learn more about how accountants adapt the new feature, how they behave differently when they see the new user experiments. And we have been doing A/B testing. My name is Karen Wu. I'm a software engineer at Intuit.com, and I have been doing A/B testing for more than 2 years. So now let's talk about what is A/B testing. A basic A/B testing is presenting 2 different user experiments to 2 different groups of users and observe how users behave differently when they see the 2 different experiments. And we have been learning from, in order to make the A/B testing meaningful, there are 2 things we need to do it early and correctly. First, define the success metrics. Second, watch out for the overlapping traffic. So now let's talk about how do we define the success metrics. To get a meaningful result from your A/B testing, we first need to understand what means success, what means failure from your A/B testing. In order to do that, we recommend you talk to your analyst as early as possible, because analysts, they can help us define the statistical significance. By that, it means they can tell us like how much gain you want to see from your A/B testing to call your A/B testing is successful, and how much decrease you actually don't want to see, and how much traffic you need to reach the goal, and how long is the pool should be, and how do you split the traffic so you can get your result as early as possible, and how long you need to run the test. For example, we want to know how accountants behave when they are able to add the clients without QuickBooks subscription. Are we going to impact our subscription rates? Analysts tell us if we see 10% drop for the subscription rates, our new experiment is not successful. After 4 weeks running with more than 10,000 accountants, the decrease in subscription is only 2%. So we can conclude the new experiment is successful. Second, now let's talk about the overlapping traffic. So a lot of time we need to define multiple A/B testings. In that case, we need to watch out they don't interference with their self. For example, we have one A/B testing for first-time use case. We present 2 different introductions to see how accountant adapt the new feature. In that case, we don't want to add more A/B testing against the first-time use case, but we can add other A/B testing to see how we make the product sticky, how we attract accountants come back to create second project, third project, and so on. So after applying all our A/B testings, we proved the accountants, they made their purchase decision is pretty early. So we are comfortable to provide the ability let accountant create a clients without QuickBooks subscription. And now these accountants, they are using our feature to manage their work for their clients with or without QuickBooks subscription. The conversion rate now is 20% higher. So define your A/B test early can help you deliver your feature to the right customer sooner. Just make sure, do these 2 things early and correctly. First, define the success metrics. Second, watch out for the overlapping traffic. Thank you. I'm done.
Great. So just so you know, your time is just so you know, your time is 4:54 before I forget. So
54. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Jeff, go ahead.
Great. Okay. I think that you caught the rhythm of the language better than, like during the first class. I think it was difficult for you to find the content words and, or, during the sentence set stress structure, when we were talking about that, how to hit the content words and de-emphasize the structure words, that was a little bit difficult for you. And I think you did better with that. I think the pacing at the top was pretty good. Yeah, I liked that you took your time, and I could tell, were you trying to sort of work on your phrasing, like, oh, one phrase, take a little break, one phrase, go to the next? Yeah, I could tell you were, I could tell you were trying to do that. And I think that is, such a simple thing to do. And I'm always amazed at how it can dramatically improve your English just by taking your time and working on your phrasing like that. There was a couple of instances where I thought you hit the smaller words a little too much, and it kind of threw off the rhythm. So for instance, when you said this feature, you might hit that structure word, this feature, or in that case. So just remember, when you have those phrases, those prepositional phrases, you want to hit the content word, the noun, this feature, in that case, right? So keep remembering to catch that rhythm, hit those meaty words, those content words. Just write the word gain down because you used it and it seemed like an important word in your presentation. You want to round and open up that A sound, really smile, lift the middle of the tongue. A, gain. Can you say that for me just right now?
A.
Yeah, good. So just think a 2-second sound. It's a long sound, right?
Okay.
And then, I'm all about the subtler musicality of the language. So look for moments to link together, like is successful, that Z sound into that S. It's kind of like a same consonant blend, right? Is successful.
Is successful.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
is successful. Okay.
yeah. And just kind of, think of blending those two similar consonants together. But overall, I thought there was just a lot of progress. Vowel sounds were better, consonant sounds were better, and definitely I think the pacing was a lot better as well.
Thank you.
Sure.
Purnima, why don't you go first this time so we mix it up a little bit?
Yeah.
Before me, not after Jeffrey.
Sure. So I think first things first, you took a lot of the feedback I gave you from the Saturday session and incorporated it, and it was just phenomenal. You did a really good job explaining your takeaways, explaining A/B testing in detail, and the other piece was reincorporating the story for each of the takeaways. So going back and saying, here's what we did, here's what I would recommend you doing. Now, there was one piece, though, at the beginning when you started to talk about A/B testing, where you said you need to have kind of two scenarios. I think what would have been helpful is to either say, I will give you an example from our experiments, or to give an example in that moment. But there was one point early on in your talk where you explained A/B testing, and it was clear, but it would have been a little bit more helpful to just have an example. So watch that. If you're going to have the jargon and the explanation, maybe one more step, if you have time, is to dive in and give an example, or to preview to the audience that an example is going to be forthcoming. I thought you did a great job of taking your time. You were very measured in your speech, but not in a way where I was like, I'm snoozing off like it was good. There may be an opportunity, since you asked for what's really important, I would say adding a little bit more vocal inflection and being a little bit more dynamic. Now that you've got the content down and hopefully you feel comfortable, maybe not yet, but once you start to get a little bit more comfortable, I'd like to see you open up a little bit more in terms of your body language, have a little bit more variety in your vocal inflections. And some of that is along the lines of what Jeff said. And then the last thing I will say is, I really think this would be a great presentation to give internally at Intuit, to showcase how you did A/B testing, how you incorporated the product. And that might mean a longer presentation, which is fine. So in this case, I think having the slides, and your slides, they were just really clear. I gave you this feedback on Saturday as well. I would probably recommend, if you're going to do it internally, to have some product screenshots of the before and after. I think people inside would love to see that kind of information, would love to see how you transformed it. And they might like to know, maybe a few more steps for how you decided on particular areas of the product to focus on. But again, this is just for if you decide to give this talk and you want to make it longer, or you want to give it internally. Other than that, I also think you did a great job of establishing your credibility in the beginning. So I think you've come a long way, and I hope, whether you feel good or not right now, go back and watch it. But I'd certainly say you have certainly improved in the course, and you should be really proud of all the work you've put in.
Thank you. I will watch.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. You've come so far, and it's super exciting. And I think that you are ready to give this talk again to a broader audience, not just to the class. And I hope you do that, Karen. It's fabulous. Some things I was noticing positive, in addition to what Purnima said, is I love the way that you transition us as the audience along to your next point, saying things. Now let's talk about A/B testing. And you did the same thing with success metrics. Now let's talk about success metrics. Super easy to follow you. And I know you're transitioning to your next point. So keep looking for opportunities to spell out what may seem like the obvious to us, but it's a great transition. The other thing I'll say is that you were confident in using gestures to signpost and so forth, but you were rushed. So And that's a little bit of the nerves, maybe us not wanting to be as big on, in front of the audience and make ourselves small. So, but just don't rush through these things. Hold those hands up, for a while we're speaking to them, and not just pull them out of view. So think about improving there. The one thing, though, that I would love for you to work on with future talks is try to, if you can, weave in an element of humility to your talk. And what I mean by humility is, think about the example of the security incident, the DDoS that I talked about in class, where it's like, I'm going to share with you the 3 best practices for handling a DDoS that we wish we had known that night that our website was under attack. It's that humility of like, we didn't know what we were doing, and therefore, we had to learn all of this stuff. And that humility makes a talk and a speaker very memorable and believable when it comes right down to it. So with A/B testing, I don't know if this is really the situation or not, but saying something like, we made a mistake releasing that feature to begin with. What we should have done was apply A/B testing before we even let that feature out the door the first time, or something like that. Do you see what I'm saying about humility? So think about adding that. Again, that's like that next level of storytelling and that next level to get to. It's the one piece of feedback when I thought about you saying, what's the most important thing to improve? That's something that I would love to see you work on.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. That's great feedback.
Thanks.
All right, Xiao and Jing, do you have anything you'd like to add for Karen?
I think it's great. I really liked how confident Karen was. She portrayed herself, it's very believable that you are the domain expert here. And I can totally, see that you have a lot of knowledge in this field. And I also like that she paused a lot in her talk, so it's easier to follow. And also, she was not using the filler words when she was pausing. Although I could sort of see that she was thinking in the background, which is something that I have to work on.
Karen, did you feel like you were a domain expert? Did you feel things
a little bit? Well, I actually have to talk to our analysts to see like how they actually work on this. And the rehearsal on Saturday, Sunday was really helpful, because I didn't know I will rush that much, because that one, like, I was really rushed on Sunday, and I cut my talk at this 30 seconds or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so I'm aware of I need to make my talk slower. Yeah.
Good. Jing, anything you would add?
Well, I think the structure is really, really well formatted, and then it makes really clear about the contrast before and after the product. And also, I think the pace is really good. It's just the right amount of speed for us to understand. Yeah, and then plus one for what Xiao said, I really believe that you are the expert in learning for A/B testing.
Thank you.
Good. Wonderful. All right. Well, thank you both. So with that, last but not least, Jing, whenever you are ready, let's get you set up.
All right.
And let us know what feedback you'd like us to focus on, areas you'd like us to focus on.
Right. So I also want to, the general feedback, first of all, and then also want to know since it's accent reduction module, and then want to know what how my pronunciation and stuff is going, because sometimes I focus more on the content and maybe less focus on this part. And then for improvement, of course, I want to know if anything I could do to make it better.
Great. Okay.
For sure.
Whenever you're ready.
So my topic today is Speak Up Free Promotion. And my target audience is the early career folks with 0 to 3 years experience. Hi everyone, my name is Jing. I'm a senior software engineer from Intuit. And today I want to talk about speak up for your promotion. Imagine this, you have a job and you're looking for a second one. Now you're refreshing your resume, you put up your company names, title, and durations. Who do you think the HR and the manager would be more interested in? The one who got promoted within only 1 year, or the one stayed in one position for 2 or more years? Probably the first one. I wish somebody could told me when I first started my career, but I realized this when I found my coworker got promoted. And I asked myself the question, what could I have done better? Unfortunately, every promotion for us is like first time ever, and we don't have experience to rely on. So I reached out to my friends. I took him out for a walk, bought him a coffee, and asked him the question, what was your secret? How did you do it? So he told me a sentence, which I followed in the next 6 months and got promoted. I want to share it with you so that it could save your time as well. Act like one before you become one. Act like one before you become one. Take senior software engineer, for example. What would they do? They always plan ahead. They always communicate. They always ask for more responsibility and deliver more than expected. And last but not least, they always let everyone know what they have done. So I want to break it into 4 points. Plan ahead and speak up to your manager. We cannot ask our manager directly, so when are you going to promote me? But we can communicate with them about our plans. When do we want to communicate? When do we want to promote it to the next level? What is our goal? So the manager knows who to nominate when the time comes. So I went back to our manager and communicated with him about our plan and set up a time to follow up for every month. Ask for more responsibility. Managers don't know what we like, what we don't like, but we can tell the manager, this is the project we're interested in, and this is the project we want to lead. It might not happen right away, but when the timing is right, manager knows who would be the candidate. Go above and beyond. Things might not go as planned. There are always surprises. During the 6 months, I was assigned to a project where 4 different teams are participating to finish one onboarding project. When I joined the conversation, I realized there was no clear driver for this entire thread, and there was no ownership from either of the team. The thread became really long for email, and nobody knows what the next step was. So I decided to step up and provide a summary for everyone and follow up action items. It was not planned, but the end. Everyone knows there's an engineer called Jing who was driving the conversation. So help your peers and give them a reason why they should promote you. Last but not least, care about visibility. Let everyone know what you have done or what impact you have made. Help your peers when they need to write a review and give them a reason. Give your manager a reason to nominate so they know, help them in order to help yourself. Promotion is like a milestone and a plan for your career. I hope everyone could achieve your goal. So remember the sentence, act like one before you become one, and follow the 4 action items. And try it out. Plan ahead, ask for more responsibility, go above and beyond, and last but not least, care about visibilities. Let everyone know what you have done, what impact you have made. So I really look forward to receive good news from you. Feel free to email me with my email address. Thank you.
Okay, yay. So Jing, I think you just demonstrated a great example of why you should practice your content and your slides may go haywire. So I don't know if you all saw your Jing slides. Yeah.
Yeah,
But-
Jing, we didn't see your slide. We only saw your first title slide. It didn't advance.
Oh, which
Oh,
one?
we only saw your title slide during your whole talk. You were clicking, I could tell it, but it wasn't, we didn't see any of these slides that you're showing us now. I don't know what was happening.
Yeah, and I didn't want to interrupt you. So it was fine. I mean, your presentation was fine without it, but it's a good example of like the importance of doing the practice so that just in case the slides go haywire, you're not reliant upon it.
I was sharing the screen, and then I make it like a full screen for this PPT, like PDF. So interesting. I was using the same thing during the Sunday practice though.
Yeah, so I don't know what happened, but it's okay. Don't worry about it.
You know, you were sharing, I think you were sharing probably this PDF viewer, I don't know if it's Acrobat, instead of your whole screen. And so when you went into full screen, we didn't see it. We only still were just looking at the application window that you were sharing, unfortunately. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. That's okay.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and dive in. So Jeff, feedback for Jing.
Yeah, sure. I think that your vowels and your consonant sounds are pretty crisp, which is really great. Overall, your English is strong. I give you the same feedback that I have given in the past, which is you are a little up-tempo, and I think that is, very common, especially if you're giving a final presentation, if the pressure is on, right? So the thing is just to take those big breaths when you can, to remember that, and it kind of weaves into some public speaking tips as well, is remember that it's your stage, it's your time, so you can control the pace. The spotlight is on you, nobody's going to interrupt you, so you can take that breath so that you can concentrate on your phrasing and your articulation and really take your time. Occasionally you have a habit of hitting the smaller words, and I just want to go over a little bit with you about how to reduce that. So you'll say, within a phrase, what they have done, or what is our goal, or about our plan. But those smaller words, can actually, like have or are, can get reduced down a lot. What they have done, that have can become like just a V sound. Can you say that phrase for me? What they have done?
What they have done?
Yeah, instead of what they have done, or what is our goal, our can become like what is our goal? Can you try?
What is our goal?
Yeah, and goal, those bigger words are the ones that you want to kind of let pop. What is our goal? Can you say that one more time?
What is our goal?
Exactly. About our plan, instead of about our plan, about our plan. Can you try that?
About our plan.
Yeah, so your first impulse was to hit that arc, right? So yeah, and it takes a little bit of practice to catch that rhythm, but I think that will help you a great deal. I'm focusing on hitting those content words, but overall, really sharp with the consonant and the vowel sounds. Just slow yourself down and think about hitting those content words, and I think you can get to the next step quite easily.
Thank you.
Great work.
Go ahead, Karen.
Yeah, so Jing, great talk. And I've been a fan of, I think I've reviewed a number of your labs that you've handed in. I've just been a fan of the content, and it's great to see how it's evolved. And I do think I want to encourage you to give this talk, hopefully internally at Intuit if you have a chance, if not on a bigger stage, because I think it's incredibly powerful. And I have a couple of suggestions that you did a lot really well. I just have two suggestions for things to do better. One is I want you to add some drama to your delivery. And specifically, the example I want to give you of adding drama is before you change your slide to the slide that says act like one before you become one, and your beautiful hand gesture with that, I want you to slow down and say, are you ready? And kind of lean in. Are you ready to hear this one thing he told me, like my friend? Like you're just saying, my friend told me he said one sentence. Pausing there and saying, are you ready? And almost whispering like you're giving them a little secret. Then click, to the next slide and say, Act like one before you become one. You'll add some drama and get people's attention to pay attention to that key phrase that you want them to leave with. So try that out. It may be very much outside your comfort zone to be kind of dramatic and act like that on stage, but I think it would really add a lot to your talk. The other thing I'll say is just that there are times during your talk when you were highly conversational. It felt like you were just talking to a friend over a cup of coffee. And that is magic. That is what you want to capture. You did it really well when you were talking about, you did it very well when you were doing the going above and beyond point. You were very conversational as you were talking about what that looked like, how you do that yourself. And so when you go back and look at this, pay attention to how you sound there, and then realize that at other times you sound a little bit more formal, like you're a teacher or professor teaching a lecture. And you really want to balance it more towards being conversational. So something to work on, but boy, this was really fantastic. So please take my suggestions as just a way to just level it up to that next level as you move forward with public speaking. That's it. Purnima?
Okay, great. Again, I'd probably echo a similar sentiment to Jeff and Karen. I thought, again, very, very conversational, very relatable. Also, how you structured your story. I kind of imagine in my head you were sitting there with your friend in a coffee shop. So I think those are all elements you want to keep on doing. I don't have a lot of feedback, in terms of areas to improve. I think your structure is great. Your slides were great. I remember from even our practice session, everything was good. I think the one thing I would say for you, and honestly for Karen as well as for Xiao, is end strong, right? Regardless of whether you feel like you went over time, you forgot a point, you felt like somebody was giving you a weird sideways glance, like no matter what, take that last moment when you're on stage or when you're in a conversation or whatever setting and just end strong. And that may mean taking a pause, maybe doing a little walk, whatever it is, just like we tell you at the beginning of your talk to collect your thoughts, take a few deep breaths, do the same thing at the end. Because I noticed at the end you got flustered. I'm not sure what caused it. Maybe you can tell us, but you got a little flustered and then you regained your footing and you got right back on track. But when whatever happens in the middle, just again, forget about it and finish strong, because it's, again, the last impression the audience is going to have. And when you walk off that stage or wherever you're at, just be like, yep, I nailed it. Doesn't matter if I missed like 20 points or I stumbled or I said, or, whatever happened, like, no one's going to remember. All they're going to remember is you had that great kind of ending and that finish. So I would say for you, kind of think about how you want to end and bring that back into your consciousness, because it can feel like you get into this autopilot, like, oh, I'm at the end, like it's the last point, it's the last slide, let's just like close this thing and move on. But always finish strong. So that would be my feedback in terms of something to work on for next time. But again, I think you've, just like everyone else here, you've come a long way. Be really proud. I think this would be a great presentation also for Grace Hopper. They're always looking for career development and other places as well. So if you're looking to get a little bit more exposure, share your story, I think people could benefit from what you have put together here. All right.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so
yeah.
much.
Sure. Xiao and Karen, any feedback for Jing?
I think it's great. I definitely learned a lot. This is, something that I have no idea before. So it's really great to hear somebody who has more working experience to talk about it. I also like how Jean was referring to her original story in different points of the talk. That makes the points that she was making super relatable.
Yeah.
It's very convincing. They made me want to try it.
Yes, we'll all go now and try to get a promotion. Awesome.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Well, anything else that you ladies want to talk about? We have a few minutes left. So if you have any questions, concerns, Feel free to bring them up now.
So regarding the end, so was it? So you were saying, you're mentioning like I kind of a little bit rushed at the end, but then kind of get back in later. So was it the rush part was the last point, or was it like I was saying conclusion to the 4 points? So which part felt a little bit rushed?
Your recap was good. That's when you got your footing back, but it was right before that. Karen, Jeff, do you remember? It was probably like 10 seconds before you started your recap.
I thought, Jing, that you had drawn a blank. Like it was that I was fearful that you just like, I don't know what I'm supposed to say now. That was, I don't know if that's how you felt, but that's how I was receiving it. But then, as Purnima said, you got your mojo back, you got your footing back, and you carried on fine. So I don't know what happened in that moment. Go back and look at the recording and see if you don't spot it and realize how you can course correct moving forward.
Yeah, I think I did have a blank, like I kind of forgot the word, but then I was trying to come up something to carry over the flow. Then so there was a stop at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a little trick for this. I like to call this like the professorial pause. Whenever it happens to me, I just take a moment. I kind of look down as if I'm like really deep in thought, let the audience kind of simmer on whatever my last point was, and then usually it comes back to me, right? So to try that, maybe it'll work, but it's natural, to lose your train of thought, and there's little tricks in which you can make it appear like you're meaning to do it, like you're letting the audience kind of sit with what you just covered.
Yeah. I mean, just to piggyback on that, so the other thing you can do is to sip some water. I mean, I think what you're hearing is like you can afford to fake it a little bit more, you know what I mean? And like, fake the confidence, fake a little bit of, I need a little bit of a break here to think about something profound or sip my water. But that will aid you in terms of your public speaking. It'll also aid you in terms of your articulation, because it'll give you the time you need to find the right words.
Yeah, Jing, you just have to act like a TED speaker before you become one.
Exactly.
Love it. Awesome. All right, anyone else?
I have a question for Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
So far we have been practiced during the class, but I wonder if there is a need, like after the class, how do we get improved?
Well, gee, Karen, that's an excellent segue for me to talk a little bit about my company. So yes, I was going to mention that you're more than welcome to contact me or sign up for like a free consultation. I do private one-on-one lessons online in terms of accent reduction and English fluency, and I have group classes similar to this. I'll post that on Slack, take a look at it, sign up for a 20-minute consultation. It's free, and let's talk a little bit about what your goals are.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah, great.
All right, anything else?
So for tomorrow and Wednesday's session, do we need to attend?
It would be good, yeah, because that way you can learn from others. So Wednesday and Friday session, so there might be things that you pick up on that we didn't cover here, but treat it like a normal class. And then I will also just encourage you to go back and watch the video from today, because you were in the middle of it. You probably didn't realize what was going on, or you were just so happy to be done. But it's really powerful to go back and to see yourself, and even take a look at maybe the first time that you spoke. So that favorite dessert, or lab 1 where you pitched your topic, or even lab 3 or 4, right? And just notice the difference in what you've been able to accomplish. That's why we recommend doing the recording, is you now have this history. You can go back and look at what you've done, and again, give yourself a pat on the back, but then realize it's possible, and there's only going to be even more as you continue to do this. So yes, please show up. Please take a moment to review the recording. Anything else, Karen, you'd add?
No, I'm super excited to hear the rest of the presentations too. Everyone has they have great content, and it is amazing. it's so impressive to see the work is paying off for everybody. So I hope you can make the time to come, Jing.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I will come.
Okay, wonderful. Anyone else? Anything else? Any questions, concerns? All right, well then we will let you all go. We'll see you tomorrow and Friday. Know that Megan will reach out with final feedback, so please give us some candid feedback as well. There'll be a self-assessment portion, and then there will be a portion where you give us feedback. And then if you change your mind about sharing your recording, take a moment to just fill out that video release form so we can also share your brilliance with the world. All right. Awesome. Well, have a good afternoon, ladies, and we will see you again soon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Sure.